So how about ammo storage, for SHTF or end of the world or whatever, trendy name you want to give it? How much ammo should you be storing? Well, this is a little bit of a hard subject to cover because everybody's needs are just a little bit different, but I'll do my best to see if we can't break this down. I'm going to break it down, and I want to stress that this is a starting point. This isn't the end all be all numbers, but if you're just trying to figure out what you need to be setting back, this is a pretty good place to start. The way I like to do this is I look at the number of rounds per month that you should be using for training. I'll be honest with you, most of this is way more than what most people actually train, if they're being truthful. And I wish I could say that I stuck to this every month, but how much would we shoot per month for actual training? Not just shooting at, a beer can or, whatever, but actual running drills and getting some good quality training in. How much would that be per month? And then let's multiply that by 12 and get to, what it would take to, what that number would be for a year. And adjust some of this, I'm going to base it off of what I have based on, the video I did a while back about the 5 prepper guns, and adjust it to what you see fit for what your need is. Now, the way I do this is I break it down into 2 different types of ammo, and that is my loadout, which is this is your doing business ammo. This is your premium stuff. It's the $2 hollow points. It's your precision ammunition, the stuff that you would use for self-defense, or if it's a hunting rifle, it's the actual round that you're going to be using to hunt with. Along with that comes the magazines and the carriers and everything you have to actually make the ammunition usable. After that, it's just bulk ammo. Now, this is still quality ammunition, maybe not premium ammunition. Your NATO stuff, your ball ammo, but we do still want to make it good quality ammo. If you're one of those people that has the disposable income to stack back thousands and thousands of rounds of premium ammo, right on. I'm not going to fault you for that. Good for you. However, for me, I've got other things that I need to, spend that money on. So 100% of what I keep is not premium ammo. And once again, this is a starting point. You get to this point, catch everything else in the world up, and then you build on it. So with that being said, let's jump into it. So for the first gun, got me a list here. We're going to go with the fighting pistol. So for the fighting pistol, I think you need to have a loadout of 7 mags. So that's, 150 or so, kind of look at what your mags carry. So 150 rounds of duty ammo, for your loadout stuff. And then we're looking at 60 rounds per month, which is 720 per year. So let's round that up to 1,000. Just call it an even 1,000. And from that 1,000, you can go ahead and, your loadout ammo can count as part of that 1,000 rounds. So what about your fighting rifle? So your AR-15, your AK, whatever flavor of fighting rifle you choose. Well, we're going to go the same thing as we did with the fighting pistol. We're looking at 7 rounds. And this time we're going to go with 250 rounds of duty ammo. Once again, if your magazines, magazine capacities make 240 or they make, 300, I don't care. Just adjust that to, fit your needs. And then for the total amounts, that would be 120 rounds per month. So, if you've got an AR, that's putting, a couple, 3 or 4 mags per month through that rifle, doing good quality drills, working on accuracy, working on transitions, all of the, the cool guy drills. So that's 120 rounds per month, and that's 1,440 rounds per year. We're going to round that up to 1,500 rounds. Once you get there, you're pretty good for your starting point. Okay, now these next three, which will be shotgun, rifle, and like your 22 stuff, this is going to be a lot dependent on how you plan on using your gun. So I'll give a brief overview of my thoughts on this. So for the shotgun, this is going to be highly dependent on what you plan on using it for. Now, for me, my primary use for a shotgun is for a food gun. If yours is a fighting gun, well, I've got some numbers written down for that as well. I kind of, keep mine dual purpose. I store back fighting ammo, even though I don't plan on using the shotgun for that. But anyway, let's go through and break this down. So for a fighting gun, you want your fighting load to be 50 rounds of buckshot, 50 rounds of slugs. And once again, premium ammo, buy the best stuff you can reasonably afford for these. Now, I like to use the SOE shotgun cards for ammo logistics. They're Velcro backed elastic loops. You put a piece of Velcro on the side of your shotgun, and they just peel and stick just like the side saddles. They fit in M4 mag pouches. It's about the best thing I've found. If you know of something better, please let me know. It's the best thing I've found, and they work pretty great. They're cheap. It's just the best thing I've found. So for your food gun, for your loadout for that, we're looking at 100 rounds of just number 8 birdshot, or maybe 100 rounds of, or also 100 rounds of number 4 or number 6 shot, for rabbits and squirrels and things of that nature. So as to our total storage numbers, we're looking at, a box of rounds per month. Boxes are 25 round boxes. So that's 300 rounds per year. We're going to round that to 500 rounds. But with a change this time, in addition to the 500 rounds, we're going to add our loadout to that as well. And for the bulk ammo, let's go with, like number 8s and number 4s, a good mix between those on what you plan on using it for. So rifle, once again, is dependent on what you're going to use it for. Is this a fighting rifle, a battle rifle? If so, we're just going to repeat what we used for the fighting rifle, the 7 mags, and just repeat those same numbers, just copy and paste. Now, I primarily use mine and intend on using it for a food rifle, a sustainment rifle. So what I've got for that is a loadout of 60 rounds of quality duty ammo. And this could flex the same if you're using it, setting it up as a hunting rifle. The same numbers would apply for like a precision rifle as well. So we're looking about a box per month. And so that's 240 rounds per year. And I feel comfortable about having, 500 rounds stashed back of, for your bolt action type stuff. Once again, if it's a fighting rifle, a battle rifle, chambered in 7.62 or something like that, we're just going to copy and paste what we did for our fighting rifle. So for 22, okay, this stuff weighs almost nothing, and it's pretty damn inexpensive. I'm going to say with the 22, buy as much as you can reasonably afford. It's just so compact and so cheap, so lightweight. You really want to stack that stuff to the rafters. With the magazines for this, if it's like a Ruger 10/22 or whatever it is, I'm going to go back to 7 mags as your loadout. And I would really shoot for 5,000 rounds of ammo to be stored back for your 22. Maybe 500 rounds or so of your really high quality stuff, your like the CCI velocitors, you know, just your good quality, you know, hunting rated, you know, 22 long rifle rounds. So that's how I break it down for the, you know, the 5 most important guns. Adjust this to where you see need, you know, wherever you see fit. And I think once you get to these points, you're probably better off fixing some of your other stuff, your transportation, your financial security, your shelter, food and water. Make sure all that stuff is caught up, you know, before you go to, you know, stacking this stuff any deeper than that. Well, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Sorry it was a little bit tongue-tied, you know, lots of numbers and math involved. So anyway, best I can do for a one-take video. All right, well, until next time, be sure and hit the thumbs up button and subscribe, and you guys be safe.